SIG-23, it is 12 January 2021. Let me adjust this slightly, thank you. All right, this is catching up from the defense, from area of defense. The latest Arctic strategy report released by the Navy says that Russia and China are attempting to assert power over the region. The strategy calls for peace through strength, which includes an increased naval presence, increasing the Navy's blue Arctic capabilities, and strengthening defense partnerships with Arctic countries. According to Navy Secretary Kenneth Braithwaite, the U.S. is prepared to maintain favorable balances of power in the region. Observers note, the Arctic became a national defense issue several years ago when Russia began building military infrastructure in the region. Defense leaders considered this a national security threat since it further opened the continental United States to attack from the north. The Defense Department has conducted defense surveys and is preparing to compete with foreign powers to maintain control over the Arctic. U.S. Northern Command also increased their focus on Arctic military exercise to ensure military readiness in the region. The low-intensity conflict in some. And of course, this is old news. It says Trump supporters rushed the Capitol during the D.C. rally. Hundreds of Trump supporters breached fence perimeters, overwhelmed police officers, and rushed the Capitol during a joint session of Congress to certify the Electoral College votes. A handful of individuals were seen initially ripping down the fence perimeter and overwhelmed a small contingency of Capitol Police who were apparently caught off guard. One female Trump supporter, an Air Force veteran, was shot and killed by federal officers during the protest. Law enforcement eventually cleared out the Capitol and Congress resumed its session. The Virginia National Guard and 200 Virginia state troopers were deployed to enforce a 6 p.m. curfew. Overall, 52 people were arrested, 14 officers injured. Metropolitan Police Department reported 2 explosive devices were discovered during the riot, one at the Capitol and one at the Republican National Committee office. In response, President Trump said these are the things and events that happen when a sacred landslide election victory is so unceremoniously and viciously stripped away from great patriots who've been badly and unfairly treated for so long. Go home with love and in peace. Remember this day forever. Observers note many Trump supporters have become increasingly frustrated with the Republican and D.C. establishments, have lost confidence in the electoral process, are convinced that the 2020 presidential election was stolen, and are increasingly questioning the legitimacy of the federal government, adding in the significant negative impacts of pandemic shutdowns, political tensions building up to this week, and the political defeat in Georgia. The events at the Capitol are more an act of frustration than one of planned insurrection. Without the release valve of legitimate elections, a perceived polarized winner-takes-all political system will continue to undermine efforts to reach consensus and likely drive further reactions from the right under a Biden administration. However, it has since come to light that the people doing the rushing may have been bussed in, and it's alleged that because Antifa actually has planned for this, that people dressed up in MAGA type things, American patriot things that they would know nothing about, were the ones that were actually doing the causing the destruction at the Capitol. So they're going on only what was initially reported at the time, but it's just literally just another setup, because that's what they do. That's what they've been doing, and that's what they're going to continue to do. Oh yeah, there's a lot of frustration because it's not, alleged this or supposed that. No, you don't have the number of affidavits sworn affidavits and eyewitness statements that are generated from something supposed or alleged. So, there you go. Leftists, police, and Trump supporters clash in multiple cities. Oregon State Police declared an unlawful assembly at the state capitol in Salem after Trump supporters and counter-protesters refused to disperse. Riot police were called in to break up the demonstration as both sides exchanged blows, pepper spray, and paintballs. In Olympia, Washington, dozens of Trump supporters assembled outside the governor's mansion and declared that the state government is no longer legitimate. In Beverly Hills, California, Stop the Steal rally goers clashed with counter-protesters and police as well. Observers note. Multiple Stop the Steal rallies were held in Arizona, Kansas, New Mexico, South Carolina, Atlanta, Arkansas, Florida, and Wisconsin without reports of violence. It's because usually it comes from one side. And that means that since it normally comes from the liberals, maybe the conservatives are tired of being punching bags. Maybe, I don't know. Anti-fascists springboard recruitment following the Capitol event. All they need for this is the Democrat Party. That's all they need. A host of anti-fascist groups and leftists on social media boosted recruitment and outreach efforts, capitalizing on the events at the Capitol yesterday. Some anti-fascists claimed that the storming of the Capitol is the type of event anti-fascists work to prevent. Others solicited new recruits seeking revolutionary change. Observers note, some claimed in 2020 that Black Lives Matter and anti-fascist riots were a symptom of the Trump era that would subside if defeated. Come on, that's a lot of bullshit. Over the past few weeks, however, we've observed numerous far-left groups boost recruitment efforts under the campaign of preventative anti-fascism post-Trump. These groups continue to pivot and likely exploit any conservative resistance under Biden. Armed march planned in state capitals ahead of inauguration. An armed protest is being planned on 17 January in Washington, D.C., and every state capital in the country, just ahead of Inauguration Day. Posts and flyers for the event claimed it will be a peaceful event designed to send a message to those in favor of gun control. No one group has claimed to be the official organizer of the protests, although protests are being organized. Observers note. Of note, we've not observed any calls to violence regarding this event. If armed, open carry marches do materialize, they will likely not extend to Washington, D.C., which has incredibly restrictive gun control laws. Especially considering yesterday's or that previous day's events, one of the top domestic policy goals for the Biden team, however, is to push through major gun control measures. Executive actions from the White House and legislation from the Democratic-held Congress are likely to fuel the renewal of a conservative patriot militia movement over the next few years. It's about goddamn time. So, upcoming event calendar, 16 January, anti-fascist disruption, Spokane, Washington. 17 January, refuse to be silenced, armed march, Washington, D.C. and state capitals. 20 January, 46th presidential inauguration. Last one. Last legitimate one. This is illegitimate. It's not even legitimate. This is illegitimate and will ever forever be in this country. 20 January, Brown Berets National Call to Action, multiple cities and states. 20 January, I did call that one. I did call that one specifically also. 20 January, Inauguration Day disruption, Seattle, Washington, Portland, Oregon, Washington, D.C. 23 January, MAGA Victory Parade, please. All right, so that's it for this one, and I'm fixing to do the next one. All right, 623 out.